Thanks for having me. My name is DeSandro, and tonight I'll be talking about a subject that I originally wrote in a research paper. I'm glad there's no children in the room because this is going to be very adult. It's entitled Adult ESL and Crisis in the Workforce. So, in most conversations about the health of the U.S. economy, the topic of education is invariably included. But as we know, the subject never really gets past K through 12 funding and school access, or the rising cost of value of a college degree. Except for in the wild TESOL parties you guys throw, no one's talking about adult basic education, and within that, ESL. To put this in a more clear light, if the ball was the conversation, then Shaq would be K through 12 funding and college access. We're getting dominated here. So part of the crisis, as I intend to prove it, is that no one's talking about this. This is really just not even in the conversation. So what aren't we talking about? I'll tell you. Right now, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics puts the overall unemployment rate at 5%. That's 8 million people. Now, a lot of people would say that's a very conservative estimate, but we'll go with it for tonight. They also say that 1.7 million people are called marginally attached to the labor force, and 580,000 plus people are termed discouraged workers. Clipper fans? No, just people who are discouraged from finding work. Now, we know that many people find themselves in these categories due to a lack of education. And statistics show that the lower your level of education, the more likely you are to be unemployed. As you can see on the left, less than a high school diploma, you make the least amount of money. Less than a high school diploma, you also fill up the bulk of the people that are unemployed. So as we can see, there's a direct correlation between education and unemployment. This, phase 2 of what might be a crisis. People with doctoral degrees make a lot of money. I didn't know that.
Slightly less than master's degrees.
Statistics reveal that 40% of all U.S. workers hit the age of 55 in 2010. So that means that the next generation of workers that's coming in is going to have to fill a very large gap. And those people are going to be more racially and ethnically diverse than we've seen in a long time. What's more, the people that are going to make up those races and ethnicities, they are groups that have been historically underserved by the education system in the U.S. Now, just to put a finer point on this, the National Assessment of Adult Literacy reports that fully 30 million adults, or 14% of the population, has below basic prose literacy. They used green because it's a happy color, but that is a very startling statistic. And if you see that intermediate, 44%, 95 million. I believe Dr. Iring put a graphic up that had much more information, but I mean, that's a startling statistic. This is happening now. This isn't happening tomorrow, it's happening now. Now, as we've discussed, it's not necessarily because of a lack of trying that we find ourselves in this situation. At the federal level, there have been lots of programs that have been well-intentioned, some of them actually successful. The SCANS report that many of you are familiar with identified basic competencies that students have to have upon leaving high school if they want to compete in the workforce. The Workforce Investment Act, I believe that was mentioned earlier, which has now been replaced by the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIO. That's another great example. If you go to the website, you check it out, it's happy talk. It looks fantastic. But in my research paper, I cite Brian Bosworth's report that appeared in Issues in Science and Technology, that only about 2.6 million people attend these programs. Out of 30 million people with below basic prose, that is a drop in the bucket. So these programs are not reaching people. He cites in his report from 2004 and 2005 that fewer than 40% of the people enrolled in these programs advance even one educational level. You go in as buck private, you come out as buck private. I mean, there's these programs really are not only are they not reaching enough people, but they're not serving the needs they're supposed to. This is one reason why these programs are unpopular. They're seen as a form of welfare. They're seen as another just pork barrel spending that doesn't work. So they get voted down a lot. Politicians don't want to touch them. Now, another program that was well-intended was Reach Higher America. Those guys stated very succinctly, and I quote, "America is losing its place as a leader in education, and in fact is becoming less educated. Our current adult system is not equipped to address the needs of this current crisis. Federal adult education training and English language programs reach only about 3 million adults a year." So they've actually got a higher number than what I cited in Bosworth. Still, we can see that a problem exists now. But those guys at Reach Higher America, they shoot from the hip. And they also said this: the Hispanic share of the U.S. population is expected to increase from 14% in 2005 to more than 20% by 2030. And beyond that, 1 in 4 people will either be of Asian or Hispanic origin. So the question is clearly not whether we should be providing ESL instruction, but how are we going to deliver it in a meaningful way? So I cite the Journal of Workplace Education, and they report, quote, that many U.S. factory jobs that once required little English disappeared due to outsourcing. Today, employers report that they need entry-level workers who can read, write, compute, solve problems, and communicate effectively. So we can see that if workers are entering the workforce without these skills, they're going to be stuck in a cycle of unemployment, underemployment, and something that I think is the most important, they're going to be stuck in jobs that are devoid of any upward mobility. And that kind of speaks to the heart of what the American dream is. If you can't improve your lot, where do you really stand? But the cost of administering these programs is huge. It's daunting. The authors cite $4 billion a year over a period of 6 years to meet these needs. That's a hefty price tag to expect from employers. From that report, 66% of the employers polled said that they do not provide English language instruction on the job, at the job place. However, 80% said that they employ people with limited English proficiency. Now, why is that? Well, they're hard workers. They're great workers. And if you can, appoint a bilingual supervisor, then all is well. But that's a Band-Aid. That's not going to solve the problem. And the next economic downturn that happens, or the next big layoff, these people are going to be in a world of hurt. That means a lot for taxpayers like us, like me, you guys. So the unfortunate reality is just that people don't attend these programs. Someone else had talked about that earlier, so I won't dwell on it too much. But we know that motivation is a key factor in why people don't attend these programs. The idea, based upon Adam Smith's theory of prices and wages, is that there's kind of a human capital theory, that we need to have a trained workforce if we're going to have a healthy economy. Workers will invest in their own training if they think that they're going to get something out of it, like a better paying job, a more stable job, and employers will pay for that training if they think that they're going to get a rise in productivity. So clearly we can kind of see that there may be a hybrid approach that's starting to emerge as to how we can maybe solve this crisis. And the Journal of Adult Education cites 58% of the workers polled said career advancement, #1 reason why they want to learn English. That's a good thing. I cite Ana Huerta Macias in the article Workforce Education for Latinos, that most publicly funded worker training programs are geared towards people with 9th grade numeracy and literacy levels. That completely misses the bottom half of the people that need education the most. She goes on to say that Latino immigrants have the lowest levels of education, feel the largest percentage of low-wage workers in this country, are more likely to live in poverty, and have the highest unemployment rates, along with the lowest English literary skills. People, we're headed for a perfect storm. And I don't need to tell you how that movie ends. They all die in that movie, if you haven't seen it. So some of the programs that she cited in her article would be like bilingual vocational training. These are hybrid approaches. This particular one did not have a English class at the outset. Instead, participants learned English through occupational training. So employers really like that. Educators, not so much, because they're not getting general English skills. Another program would be the Motivation Education Training program. This was also a bilingual program, but it had an academic aspect as well. So here's a really good hybrid approach. I kind of like this one better. It consists of a GED portion at the beginning, and even remedial Spanish for people who need, real literacy instruction. Vocational training is also included with a capstone course at the end that simulates actual on-the-job experience. So this is a good approach to how we might be able to solve this problem. There are problems with these programs, however. Namely, they're only bilingual, so they only serve one group of people. And to find a qualified instructor can be a very time-consuming and costly endeavor. So, with that, are we facing a crisis? Perhaps, perhaps not. But one thing's for certain, it's the ever-evolving nature of the U.S. economy which makes this question hard to answer. Not that there's not people out there who need ESL instruction right now and that their numbers are going to be growing. I mean, what did we say? 60 million people coming into the country? That's quite a lot of people. 60 million by 2020. That's the group that needs the instruction the most. So, for the health of the U.S. economy, for our own job security, for our own tax burden, it appeals to us. We should go out and educate these people, or else we're going to have quite a hefty price tag to pay the next time there's a big recession and we find a lot more people are out of work and cannot break the cycle. I'd like to finish by paraphrasing our own Dr. Zimmerman when I say, why are we all in this room? What brings us together? It's our love of language. And we love culture. And these people that are coming here, we should give them the gift. These are my own words now. Give them the gift of English. Because it's not only good for them, it's not only good for the health of the economy, but it's good for us. Thank you very much.